The day before surgery, I took my antibiotics and followed the bowel preparation instructions exactly as written. A clear liquid diet, a liquid laxative drink, and nothing by mouth after midnight. I tried to get a good night's sleep, but anticipation and stress conspired to keep me awake. Bob and I arrived at admissions on the early side of 6. I received my hospital card and was assigned a room. I felt nervous, but somehow there was relief in the order of things. After I settled in, a nurse brought me my hospital gown. She made sure I removed my jewelry and makeup and set up the IV for my anesthetic. She explained that after surgery, the IV would be used for giving me antibiotics, steroids, and liquids. At that point, I realized I was totally in the hospital's hands. I had to let everything happen according to plan. It was a strange feeling, but somehow I felt safe. Later, a service assistant took me to the surgical waiting area. Bob stayed with me until it was time for my operation. Leaving him was harder than I thought. I know he was trying to be brave for me. I could sense he was having a tough time. While he waited in the lounge for surgical patients' families, I was wheeled down the hall towards the operating room, trying to control my own sense of impending loss. I was alone, more alone than I'd ever been. As I approached the OR, I felt a twinge of panic starting to rise up like bile. I was about to lose a body part forever, and there was no turning back. I tried to remind myself that when it was over, I would feel better than I had for years, but at that moment, it was hard to stay calm. It didn't help that the room looked like a stainless steel cell, or that the operating table was so cold. The anesthetist loomed large above me, but his voice was soft as he said he was about to administer the anesthetic. He told me I would feel drowsy, and within seconds I would fall into a pleasantly deep sleep. The last thing I remember was the light in the room dimming down to a tiny dot, and then oblivion. When I opened my eyes in the recovery room, I wondered when I was going to have my operation. The nurse assured me it was over and everything had gone well.
How are you feeling?
Groggy and weak, I slowly became aware of all the tubes. The ET had mentioned them and I'd read about them in the pamphlet, but they still felt strange. Besides the IV, there was the Jackson Pratt drain for removing fluids and blood from the operation, the nasal prong for oxygen, and the catheter for draining my bladder. Through the fog, I heard the nurse ask me to take lots of deep breaths to help clear the effects of the anesthetic and expand my lungs. She also suggested that I move my arms and legs to encourage blood flow and circulation. At first, nothing felt like it belonged to me, but gradually everything started to work and I returned to full consciousness. Once I was completely awake, I was wheeled back to my room to begin my recovery. First, let me tell you about the pain. The nurse gave me a pain pump. Whenever I felt a need, and believe me, I did, I simply pressed it and got a dose of morphine. It worked. The pain was manageable, and I was able to get up the first day.